him and Donald Trump are competing.
Yeah, I know. Well, we'll come to Mr.
Who's
Trump
the biggest idiot?
We'll come to the president.
He's an absolute buffoon. He has no place in the White House. He's an embarrassment, and he should be.
On your job. If you don't like it, clear off.
Welcome to British Focus, the channel where we break down the biggest political stories, expose hypocrisy, and bring you the truth that mainstream media won't tell you. If you're tired of empty promises, misleading statistics, and politicians who can't keep their facts straight, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an update on the latest political blunders and power struggles. Now, let's get straight to the point. Angela Rayner has made headlines again, this time for launching a scathing attack on Donald Trump during a live broadcast. With her usual bravado, she called him a buffoon and insisted that he has no place in the White House. But she didn't stop there. In a shocking moment, she even questioned who was worse, Trump or Boris Johnson. Bold words, indeed. But let's take a step back. Rayner talks a big game, but can she actually back it up? Because this is the same woman who has been caught struggling with basic facts about her own policies. Time and time again, she has failed to provide clear answers on numbers, logistics, and Labour's grand promises. She loves to criticize others, but when it comes to her own credibility, the cracks start to show. It wasn't long ago that Rayner faced embarrassment during a live interview when confronted over incorrect statistics. Rather than owning up to her mistake, she simply brushed it aside, hoping no one would notice. But the audience did, and so did the journalists grilling her. This isn't just a one-time slip-up, it's a pattern. And that brings us to one of Labour's most ambitious promises, housing. Rayner proudly announced that Labour would build 1.5 million new homes. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? Until you look at the details. Because here's the problem, a significant portion of these homes would end up being allocated to illegal immigrants. That's not speculation. It's a simple numbers game. When Rayner was questioned about this on live TV, she looked stunned, as if she was hearing about it for the first time. That begs the question, how can she not know the details of her own policy? But let's go even deeper into the numbers. Labour's plan is to build 1.5 million new homes, but the UK's population is set to increase by 2.5 million in the same time frame. That means that for every 7 new homes built, 5 will go to immigrants. Does that sound like a solution to the housing crisis? For British families who are already struggling to find affordable housing, this plan is nothing short of an insult. The UK's housing market is already stretched thin, with rising prices, lack of availability, and growing waiting lists. And yet, Labour's approach seems to prioritise non-citizens over hard-working British people. And how did Rayner respond when she was confronted with these figures? She denied it immediately, waving off the numbers as if reality didn't matter. But numbers don't lie, and the facts are there for everyone to see. This raises a much bigger issue. If Rayner doesn't understand the numbers behind her own policies, what else is she getting wrong? If she can stand on live television and act surprised about something as fundamental as housing allocations, what does that say about her ability to govern? It's not just about one policy, it's about her entire approach to leadership. A leader needs to be on top of the facts, able to justify policies with clear, coherent arguments. But Rayner, she seems to specialize in making bold statements without the details to back them up. And this is where things get truly worrying. Because if Labour can't even get the housing numbers right, how can we trust them to manage the economy, crime, or immigration? These aren't just abstract political debates, these are real issues affecting millions of people. Let's talk about credibility. Whether you love or hate Donald Trump, one thing is undeniable, he delivered on many of his promises. During his time in office, the US saw lower taxes, job growth at record levels, tighter border control, international peace deals. Meanwhile, Rayner can't even get through an interview without stumbling over her own facts. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Trump made America stronger on the world stage. What is Labour doing? Weakening Britain. While Trump prioritized American citizens, Labour's housing policies are set to push British citizens further down the list. This isn't leadership, it's chaos. It's reckless decision-making, and it shows a complete lack of preparedness. But here's where things get even more bizarre. Instead of firing back at Rayner, Trump did something unexpected. he actually praised Keir Starmer. He said Starmer was doing well so far for the UK. Was it sarcasm? A mind game? A strategy to stir the pot? Either way, it has put Labour in an awkward position. Rayner is out here throwing insults, making bold statements, and getting headlines for all the wrong reasons. Meanwhile, Trump is sitting back, watching, and playing his usual strategic game. And let's be honest, Trump isn't just another politician. His words shape headlines, dominate news cycles, and sway public opinion. If he chooses to hit back, it won't be quiet, and it won't be subtle. Rayner may have thought attacking Trump would make her look strong. Instead, it has only exposed her weaknesses. The British people are watching, and they are asking questions. If Rayner can't defend her own policies, how can she defend Britain? If Labour can't manage basic facts, how can they manage an entire country? This is what it all comes down to. Leadership isn't about throwing insults, it's about delivering results. And right now, Rayner has far more to prove than Trump ever will. If you found this breakdown revealing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to British Focus. We'll keep exposing the truth, cutting through the noise, and holding politicians accountable. Stay tuned, there's plenty more to come. Angela Rayner seems to have made it her personal mission to attack Donald Trump at every opportunity. She throws around insults, calling him a buffoon, dismissing him as unfit for office, and even comparing him unfavorably to Boris Johnson. But here's the problem: while she's busy playing the attack dog, she's failing to get her own house in order. Because let's be honest, for all his controversies, Trump actually delivered on his promises. He cut taxes, he created jobs, he tightened border security, and he brokered peace deals that many thought were impossible. Whether people love him or hate him, he got results. Meanwhile, Rayner can't even get through an interview without contradicting herself or stumbling over the most basic facts. And it's not just about one or two slip-ups. It's a pattern. Again and again, she's been caught making promises she can't back up, presenting policies without understanding the details, and faking confidence when she's clearly unprepared. The housing crisis? She got the numbers wrong. Education reform? She didn't know how many children were actually affected. And every time she gets called out, she tries to brush it off, as if the details don't matter. But here's the thing, the details do matter. Take education, for example. Labour has been promising to reduce class sizes, a noble goal on paper. But when Rayner was asked exactly how many children are currently in overcrowded classrooms, she had no idea. She waffled, mumbled something about it being a substantial number, and hoped that would be enough. But it wasn't. The journalist pressed her further and eventually revealed the actual figure: 52,000 primary school children in oversized classes. And what did Rayner do? She awkwardly claimed she already knew that, as if she hadn't just exposed herself on live TV. This wasn't an isolated incident. It's a recurring theme with her. One moment, she's confidently making sweeping promises. The next, she's caught out on basic facts and scrambling to save face. And it's not just embarrassing, it's dangerous. Because if she can't even keep track of her own policy numbers, how can she possibly be trusted to make real decisions that impact millions of people? It's easy to talk about change. It's easy to stand on a stage, deliver passionate speeches, and attack the opposition. But governing is not about theatrics, it's about knowing exactly what you're doing. And right now, Labour, under Starmer and Rayner, doesn't look like a party that has a clear grip on reality. And here's the real kicker: Labour is presenting itself as the competent alternative to the Conservatives. They want people to believe that they can fix the UK's problems, that they can bring stability and growth. But how can they possibly do that when their deputy leader doesn't even understand the policies she's campaigning on? If Rayner, one of Labour's most high-profile figures, can't answer a simple question about education, housing, or the economy, then what does that say about the rest of the party? Let's contrast this with Trump again. Say what you will about him, but he knew his numbers. When he was challenged on the economy, on tax cuts, or on job creation, he had the facts at his fingertips. He wasn't just making empty promises, he was delivering measurable results. And that's why, even with all the criticism he faced, his base remained loyal. They could see that his policies had real-world impact. Rayner, on the other hand, She's relying on slogans and soundbites, hoping that no one will scratch beneath the surface. But people are starting to notice. The more she stumbles, the more she dodges, the more she exposes herself as someone who isn't ready to lead. And it's not just Rayner. This speaks to a larger problem within Labour, a party that is so focused on attacking the Conservatives and pandering to the media, that they haven't actually worked out how to implement their own policies. They want power, but do they have a plan for what to do with it? Because let's not forget, governing is not about looking good on TV. It's not about landing a sharp-tongued insult or getting a few claps from an audience. It's about being competent, being prepared, and delivering on promises. So when Rayner mocks Trump, when she sneers at his policies, when she acts as though she's morally and intellectually superior, she's missing the bigger picture. Trump didn't win because people thought he was polite. He won because he offered tangible solutions. He cut unemployment. He brought back manufacturing jobs. He got tough on illegal immigration. And despite constant opposition, he managed to implement many of his policies. Now, compare that to Labour's current leadership. Are they offering real solutions? Are they showing competence? Are they demonstrating preparedness? Because from what we've seen so far, the answer is a resounding no. And here's the final thought. If Labour can't even get the small things right, how can we trust them with the big things? That's a question Rayner and her party still haven't answered. Angela Rayner might think she's scoring political points by attacking Donald Trump, but in reality, she's walking straight into a trap. While she hurls insults, calling him a buffoon and dismissing him as a failure, Trump is doing something far more strategic. He's praising Keir Starmer. Yes, you heard that right. Instead of firing back, Trump casually remarked that Starmer was doing well so far in the UK. Now, was that sarcasm? A mind game? A subtle way to throw Labour into chaos? Because if it was, it's working brilliantly. Think about the position Labour is now in. Rayner has built her brand on being the aggressive, no-nonsense attack dog of the party. Someone who doesn't hold back when going after opponents. She's been relentlessly tearing into Trump, hoping to paint herself as a fearless leader. And then, Trump turns the tables. Instead of engaging in a war of words, he throws a curveball and suddenly, Labour is left wondering how to react. Does Starmer embrace the praise from Trump? If he does, he risks alienating the Labour base, which despises Trump with a passion. But if he rejects it, he looks petty and reactive, playing into Trump's game of provocation. It's a classic Trump move. He lets his opponents flail around while he sits back and watches them struggle. And struggle they are. Meanwhile, Rayner's aggressive stance isn't necessarily helping her. In fact, it could end up isolating her within her own party. Labour has spent years trying to brand itself as serious, stable, and ready to govern. Starmer wants to present himself as a measured and competent leader, someone who won't engage in reckless politics. And then there's Rayner, loud, confrontational, and unfiltered, dragging Labour into unnecessary spats and making headlines for all the wrong reasons. If she keeps this up, Labour might start distancing itself from her, especially as the next election approaches. Starmer knows that he needs swing voters, people who aren't die-hard Labour supporters but could be persuaded if they believe the party is competent. And what does Rayner do? She goes on television, throwing schoolyard insults at Trump, a man who isn't even in British politics. How does that help struggling British families? How does that solve the housing crisis, the cost of living crisis, or the failing public services? This is where Trump and Labour's records speak for themselves. Trump, for all his controversies, got things done. He strengthened the economy, cut taxes, created jobs, and cracked down on illegal immigration. He didn't just talk, he delivered tangible results. Compare that to Labour, which, under Starmer and Rayner, is struggling to present a coherent vision for the country. Let's be blunt, Britain is facing serious problems right now. Immigration is out of control. The economy is unstable. Crime is rising. Public trust in politicians is at an all-time low. And what is Rayner doing? She's busy trying to score points by attacking an American politician who has nothing to do with UK governance. And here's the irony. Trump hasn't even properly responded. He's just sitting back, watching Labour tie itself in knots. If he does decide to fire back, it won't be some weak, off-the-cuff insult. It'll be a calculated strike that dominates headlines for days. Trump doesn't just fight back, he fights to win. And Rayner, she's picking a battle she can't win. Because here's the truth, if you want to take on someone like Trump, you better have results to back up your words. Rayner doesn't. She has failed interviews, botched statistics, and policies that don't add up. And the public is starting to notice. At the end of the day, politics isn't about who can throw the best insults, it's about who can actually deliver for their country. Right now, Labour, under Starmer and Rayner, has a lot to prove. And Rayner, she thought she was making herself look strong. Instead, she's just proving that she's not ready for serious leadership.
Angela